is this for?
Yeah, well, if you'll, for Holly.
Oh, okay.
Did we ever get anything for those thank you notes?
Yeah, I have that gift card for you for Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
But did you get the little, like, anything with our logo on it to say thank you
I think
for?
Kelsey's got that. I'm not sure if it's been delivered yet. They went through what's the printing place, with St. B have?
Oh, Abby
Press.
Press.
Yeah.
Can you check on it? Because I'd like to handwrite some notes to some, like, to Bray, to
Well, we
Jeff.
also need to do something with the Maker's Choice Makerspace donation people, right? Like, who was that?
Yes, so we need to
PTC.
thank them. So if you could check on the cards that we could use for that. For June, we'll send out thank yous to everybody. I'd like, if we have it now, I'd like to give one to Jeff and Holly.
Okay.
I also have a
Right,
3D
I already have
that my kid used one time. If the school wants it, it's theirs. I have
There we
a
go.
little whatever it is. He literally used it one time.
You can maybe check with the Schneider, because I think I have a robot I'm gonna donate to. Okay, so we have some action items. We're gonna table
Hey, did
11.
we open that door?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
didn't see.
shouldn't see anybody out
Nobody
there.
wants
We're
to
online
do anything.
again, so.
Okay. Action 11A, we're gonna table for now. 11B, can I have a motion to approve the employment of Angela Waltenbach as junior high teacher starting 2025-2026 school year?
Motion.
Roll call.
Mhm. All right, Bernadoni,
Yes.
Konzak,
Yes.
Riddick,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Gans, yes, Zimmer.
Yes. Motion.
Let's see, Konzak,
Yes.
Riddick,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Gans, yes, Zimmer,
Yes.
Bernadoni.
Yes.
Jared, you wanna start future agenda items?
Sure. I sent out a request, so I just kind of resent the request for either a separate meeting, or even if this is just something we tackle over the long term as singular topics. During open session, the regular board meeting, fine, but, I've been saying for years, it feels like we just don't get enough time sometimes to talk big picture about some particular issues. I think the thing that really got me thinking about this quite a while ago was behavior management types of issues. I always have said this over and over again. One of the things that really attracted me to Tonica a long time ago was its reputation for PDIS and the reputation that it had for the culture of the school, of kind of mutual support amongst the kids. And it was something that was done, it was top to bottom throughout the school. And I feel like that has fallen apart, and I want the board, and I think we have, as a board, it's part of our responsibility to take the initiative on things like that, and kind of set in place, whether it's PBIS or it's something different. I'd like us to be able to figure out, to take the lay of the land and look and see, are there other programs out there? Are there a set of principles that we can put in place as a board, put pen to paper and say, this is what we believe, this is what behavior management needs to look like within the walls of TGS, and this is what we expect going forward. And it occurred to me that we can do that with other things, with things like the food. I've taken calling it prison food, I'm just gonna keep calling it prison food, drive home the point, because that's what it is. I think I heard Nick say last month, never eat the cafeteria food. I'm like, well, if a board member or a member or a teacher is saying to themselves that they never eat the cafeteria food.
I disagree with that. Our cafeteria is fine. There's no problem with that. I've ate it many times.
Okay.
My kids eat every day, unless it's peanut butter and milk.
Oh, my kids will eat it too, and they look forward to their chicken nuggets and
I
fries.
think for public perspective, we're saying we wanna improve it if
I think
possible.
it could be so much better. And I, I've got ideas and suggestions which we can talk about if we decide that we want to do something like this. I think we've got to, when it comes to academics, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and I think it was the start of a really good conversation about, setting some long-term goals about where we want to be in terms of improving, not just empty rhetoric, about growth, saying, here's where we want to be. We want to improve our numbers. and finding a way to do it. And this is somewhat strategic planning, but, I feel like we started out strong with the last strategic plan and it kind of fizzled into, a lot of empty rhetoric. And so,
And I think a lot of it is having a strong principle, so, yeah.
but we could, like Matt said earlier, we as a board can set a North Star, and we can even set some very concrete objectives when it comes to those North Stars, and they filter down to the superintendent and down into our principal, who knows what their marching orders are, what kinds of things they need to be driving toward. When I think of academics, one of the topics that's coming up a lot for Riggs College is AI, and the kinds of things that are coming down the pipe with AI. It's terrifying. And right now, we're just reacting. That's what schools around the country are doing, just reacting to the problems that are popping up, and they're not being proactive, and they're not taking time, carving out some time and saying, what are our principles here? What are we expecting, the role of technology to look like? Like, my kids were basically banned from YouTube, like, for their entire lives. And they have now found that school is this wonderful place where they can watch YouTube over and over and over and over again, because it's now used as an incentive. And so, like, this thing that they never had access to, they now have all kinds of access to at school during their downtime and their incentive time. And we've never, as a board, sat around and talked about, like, what do we want technology to look like within this school? And I would like to be able to, like I said, set those principles or those North Stars, and set them out very clearly, and so that our administrators know what they're driving toward. So that's my.
Okay, so what is your ask? You want us to set a new, like a working session over the summer? Would you like,
I'm not suggesting a particular time or even a particular setting. In my email, I suggested that we do this with a separate meeting or a separate series of meetings or something like that. I know that people's time is limited and important. And
I guess
I
my
don't
point-
want to ask for extra, but
I guess my point is that if we don't set something, then it doesn't happen,
yeah.
right? So like if something isn't in the books, then, you talk about it and then we're like, oh, remember 4 months ago when we talked about something, right?
Yeah.
So like, what I'm saying is that is the suggestion to do it before school starts, like before December, before next week. Like,
I think in June. I think we just try to find like a Wednesday where most of us can come. We invite the village board.
well, let's do it in July then, because Tracy will actually be employed here.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
so I think she needs.
Well, it gives us a little time,
Yes.
but like I mean, we can plan. I mean, there's lots of things you can do, but I mean, we can plan like a discussion where you try to think of ideas on how you.
I'm seeing it take at least 4 hours.
I think it's a good idea as long as we don't get too negative. I want to be forward thinking and not board overreachy, micromanaging.
Well, it has to have an agenda.
Somebody's
Like
gonna have
clear
to
cut
steer
agenda.
focus, which is fine.
Could we pick a small number, of
Topic.
topics to tackle, so that we're not trying to do everything at once? If we feel like it was a positive thing, we can do it again sometime with different topics.
So I've got some things written down. Student health, which would fall under food, staff health and other stuff, enrichment, data, environment, enrichment, and enrollment. Like, those are all areas that are up here, but could lead to specific changes.
Well, we could pick like 2 or 3 of those and do a thing. And
I mentioned things like behavior and technology. Is that in there?
In technology, PBIS.
Okay.
Well, that could all fall under certain areas, like,
Well, PBIS
Data.
could be mental health too.
Sure.
But I think that when Tracy interviewed, I think she talked about PBIS.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't, I mean, like, she might have stuff too, you know what I mean, like, that's why I think if we
Maybe,
do it with.
but my part of what I would like to do, is set in place a set of, like I said, a set of principles or expectations that hopefully will outlast any one given.
Isn't that what you want Tracy to do with the staff though?
That's,
It's kind of what you do with PBIS is you meet, some of it's already done,
For
but
that,
is you just have a common set of expectations. You gather with your staff and develop those, and then you extend from there. I don't think that's something that comes from the board level, except the fact that we want you to do something,
Mhm.
whatever that might be. I don't know if you want to get into weeds as far as.
Yeah, I think probably what we should do is we have 5 areas in the strategic plan. Like we're basically talking about a map, like a strategic plan. Like we basically take 1 or 2 of those and we have a meeting and like we pick one area and we hammer that through. Like at work, we have what we call RIWs, rapid improvement workshops, where we go sit there, we flush out the issues, we come up with a plan. Like maybe we do that for each item that we have on the list, and everybody comes with some ideas, and we hammer through that one night, and then 2 weeks later we do it again. Or
So you're saying go back to the sections of the,
well, I mean, we have new. I think we have some. We tweaked them a little bit, right? But they're basically the same 5 that we had before.
yeah,
But yeah, maybe we
Do
take it there.
aim to put, I mean, I know we did this with the strategic plan, so maybe this is what you're suggesting, but some kind of pen to paper, kind of something of a resolution. This is our,
I mean, I would take one of each of those, and like I said, maybe it's a series where we try to get through 1 or 2 a night, and like we basically make that section in that meeting. Like, okay, we're gonna spend 2 hours on this and hammer it out. Like that's our end goal. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a lot of time. But
rapid.
so do we wanna do it as a working session an hour before, or do we?
I think it needs to be a separate thing.
Separate thing.
Is my
Who's got what available in July?
July,
Our meeting is the 23rd.
I don't. Why don't we just? Can we just get back to you with
Yes.
dates? And if you want, I can help you plan these. I can help you organize that, and I can run the.
Anytime after like the July 4th weekend, I think would be,
Yeah, we got a couple of long weekends planned. But yeah,
I mean, I know I say that, but I'm having a kid move to Colorado, so like I might be up in the air.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I mean, we don't need. We don't like. Not everybody has to be here.
Right.
You can send in your thoughts, but I mean, we can invite. I mean, it'll be open. It'll be a meeting
I just
open
don't
to
want it to
everybody.
be too much, like I was on board with it. I like to talk, so I mean, and think out loud, but I just don't want it to come across as overreach to Tracy. That's my concern.
I don't either. Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I'm struggling with like what that looks like.
We gotta keep it all broad and up here, like, when I was looking at an agenda for the steer committee, I honestly am not sure we should even be, that's not even a thing. Because there's nothing I should be talking to them really about,
Mhm.
as far as I can find, that is high enough up here.
Yeah, I'm just worried we're gonna get too in the weeds and details, and I just don't wanna step on toes. By being too,
But yeah,
in the
I mean, there's. Yeah, we can talk about. There's things we can talk through, like
It is, it's a hard balance.
enrollment.
To strike.
Yeah, things like that, enrollment, and, you know, what can we do to back Bob and Tracy on what they wanna see, and sharing with her her and Bob with what we wanna see. I mean, our main goal is to make this as best of a school to come to as we possibly can, with the curriculum, with the enrichment, with the building. And maybe you say that, and then see what they think after that.
Somebody mentioned inviting the village.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be wonderful. It's something that we've been talking about, just,
Village, the PTC, the
A little bit.
foundation.
but, you know, something collaborative with the village in which we, you know, think about how do we attract young families to see it over and over and over. How do we get young families into Tonica, into our school? Those 2 things are so linked, and
You don't
We
sell
didn't
the
have
3-bedroom house next to me to them.
that's a conversation, you know, that I know that we're a school board and they're a village board, and the 2 are very different entities, but our interests are so intertwined that some kind of a conversation, whether it's like a shared 2 and 2 kind of committee that sits around and brainstorms or something. I don't know, I'm trying to think outside the box here.
I
So that we
think-
can start
yeah,
pushing
we
ourselves
probably
in
need
a more
to-
ambitious direction.
So, I guess the one thing I'm confused about it is, are we wanting to go back to these top pillars? Like the student achievement in a curriculum, as district finances, district community relations, and we pick one or two?
Yeah.
Like, what are we wanting to go with new topics?
Where does,
Well, but
where
your
does,
plan doesn't end until next spring, I think, right?
It ends in 2026.
where does health and wellness say fall in there? If we want to have a conversation about that sort of thing, or where does, things like behavior management come in?
Maybe programs and services?
I don't know if we're the ones that should be talking about behavior management. but that's probably-
We can't talk about it even at a higher level, or a set of like, let's decide what we want as a set of principles that then are put in place or implemented or executed by.
I think you want to just give your administrators direction. We want you to do something, whether it's PBIS, BIS, something. We've had PBIS here, has had some success. I think you just need to give Tracy and I direction. This is what we want you to do. I don't think we need to sit down and talk about it as a board, other than maybe Tracy reporting back to us at some point throughout the year about how things are going
If
with
we
that.
wanted to do something like PBIS,
Excuse me?
if we wanted to do something like PBIS, I would like to know, are there other systems out there? Are there other ways? of
Well, there
approaching-
are, but is it needed, or is it necessary?
Okay, she.
Or is it something we can do? You know what I mean?
Not
There's nothing
paying
wrong
for
with PBIS. It's great. I'm a huge PBIS fan, and would work very well here. It's just, it needs to be rebooted here. And I think that's what we're on the verge of doing.
From a board level, like what I would say, we could say directive is we want a documented behavioral procedure
There you go.
that,
That's what
what do we
need
say?
to-
Documented behavioral procedure utilizing collaboration from the students, parents, teachers.
And you don't need to
But it-
necessarily sit down and talk about it as a board, other than just tell us, hey, this is what we want you to do.
Oh, that's what I mean. It's like, that's what I want done. I want some, we had PBIS, we have this Braves something now,
Expectations.
Braves expectations. I don't know where that's documented. I don't know if it's documented anywhere. I just want
The
it documented,
PBS on our
followed.
website.
and brought
I'd
in.
like to have
Well,
that.
But but like as a board, I think we should have something and it should be out there. Like it should be very visible on what we're doing, what the rules are, like what the rewards are. Like that. That's what I would say from a board directive. Then we let Tracy and Bob run from there.
Execute.
And
Yeah,
if they come back and report and say, "Oh, we're doing all this stuff," and it's like, "Well, what is actually out there? Did we talk to everybody?" Like that's the stuff we would ask.
I didn't talk about mine.
Oh,
My
your
reading
gender.
this tonight, but one of the things I noted in chapter 13 was a short little thing with the author, the superintendent who wrote this, was talking about how, the board does get to set the what. It is up to administrators to execute the how. And so we do have, I think, freedom to lay these things out. So those expectations are, and have space to talk about them.
So what do we use as the topics? The 5 things on our current strategic planning, or do we start from, Bob's saying this is through 2026, but
We can tweak it whenever we want.
like, do we stick with these topics, or do we go with enrichment, achievement? Like, where do we start? We need to start in direction, so we don't get lost in the weeds, and instead of paying.
That's
for
why I
someone.
say we started in July when we have our administration on the floor.
So sit down with Bob and Tracy, hopefully Bob's available and Tracy's available, and just see where it leads first, open conversation.
So we're talking about creating a new strategic plan, or we'll be talking about?
I think we don't know yet.
I think maybe we just need to have a conversation where we can talk about everything and figure out what direction we want to go. Do we want to make a new strategic? I mean, the strategic plan says it goes through 26. We can end it whenever we want. We can start a new one. We should probably start a new one before the last one ends.
A lot of organizations
You just,
have an ongoing strategic
Yeah.
planning process. It doesn't just. keep
yeah,
going.
it shouldn't just, we probably should have more of an open-ended thing, but maybe that's the point. Maybe we just start with that. And even that, it can be just us. I would prefer, like, we could invite other people. I mean,
I don't think we can invite everybody.
have
I
it.
think it's just, we just won't know where it's gonna go. We'll see how it goes.
I think
There's gonna be
initially-
Days that I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you can do for work. I have like flex time, but I don't know if you want to do this at night.
Mine's just, it all depends on how busy we are.
I don't know. Sometimes your time off.
I'm off every Wednesday and my work is really pretty flexible.
I don't know what you got going on. You're gonna look, right?
Yeah, we have some, I don't have any trips planned, but our budget was cut. I don't have trips planned.
I
For
can,
that, but I have
I can
personal
come any
trips.
day, it's raining, so I'm not up by my pool.
We'll have it at the
You can have
pool.
it at your
I'm
pool.
just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's what I was gonna say, I could just walk around.
Right.
I was just really jerky. I can play.
Alright.
I just can't do July 3rd. I'll be in a concert.
How about I see what Matt's got going and Nick's got going, and then get back to all y'all. You three teachers hopefully have some flexibility.
Maybe instead of leaving it completely open.
You have a class on Monday and Wednesdays, because I've got two of my girls going to your class.
Monday, Wednesday, in the summer,
Yeah,
maybe face to face in the summer.
maybe it's online. It's 1 to 3 or 12:30 to 3 something. 12:30.
I've got 2 online courses, but that's not online courses.
It's probably online.
Now you gotta be worried. Maybe what we could do, I know that everybody's, I think, kind of on board with, trying to establish some kind of working relationship with the village. And I think that's a good, really high level way to think about some of these other things, putting in place the kinds of principles that we want to attract, in order to boost enrollment. So maybe that's what we do in July is ask if anybody from the village wants to come and sort of open up a conversation about how they're thinking about growing
What they're doing, what's
Tonica.
going
And
on
we
here.
can start a high level conversation about growing TGS. And that's where we start.
Yeah. I talked to a couple that lives up in the subdivision who were there when it was built. And I was saying how we were told that was when we had our last big spurt of growth. And they're like, well, yeah, there's a lot of us up there that are older now. And then they start talking about how outdated their house was. But yeah,
Enrollment is is an umbrella, I think, over all of
Yeah.
this, right? So we want to do whatever we can
Mhm.
to start pushing this district in a direction toward growth if it's possible at all.
well, and I think if you have, I just think that advertising is underutilized with all the traffic that comes through, but we don't have houses. So why put up a big sign of Starbucks Country if you don't have 5 houses for sale? I don't know. But-
So maybe I guess what I'm suggesting is whatever we try to set up for July, that could be the way to frame it, right? Is a conversation, opening up a conversation about growing. Whether we're talking about growing Tonica, growing the school,
Growing plants in the 4-H or whatever thing we're looking to do.
Plants.
Growing something,
maybe that becomes
just
some
not
kind of a-
weeds.
Growth,
Growth,
okay,
yeah.
let's do that,
So we're gonna call it growth, not strategic plan.
growth.
I like that.
Any other future agenda items? You have any?
I do.
Anything coming up?
So we need to remember that on June 21st, that's the fire department's drawdown, and I signed you people up to bartend, remember?
Okay,
I'm not gonna be like Jackie and Paul.
we're bartending.
So we used to bartend all the time, like the board would show up at the Tonica drawdown for at least an hour or two, and we all bartended.
There, or
And that was a thing,
Did you guys
because
go get shirts?
like when Tony
Do I
was
have to
on,
bartend too?
I did.
Already have a
tips when
job.
he was
Me too.
bartending, I would sell
Oh,
tips. I just volunteered myself.
I used to sell
I love
boards
it.
all the time. I just
You
don't
put it on
think-
your phone, and we'll remind you, and we'll see if you're
So
available.
June 21st, bartending, be there.
I'm
What
doing
time
the
does it start?
table.
7?
Starts at 4.
4.
Hello.
I know, but
No,
I don't
4:30.
have to
Doing
bartend
scraps
until
again.
7.
My
Oh.
husband hates scraps, we got kicked out a couple years ago because he'd bring his own beer.
Don't bring your own beer. That causes
Well, I know, it
other
didn't
problems
work
for the
well.
license. So
Can we have cans of beer?
I think we have cans. We went to cans now.
Well,
We went to
haven't
cans
been
last
back
year.
Since you had drafts.
It's
so-
cans now, so you'll be fine.
Okay. What else you got?
All right, so then signups for helping people move. No one signed up. Are you guys gonna come and help?
I'll
Anything?
come help.
When are, I think the when is the big thing. Like, when is it?
Bob's gonna take it back to Holly
Okay.
and then
Oh, so
she can
That's
decide.
what we.
Like, I mean,
gotta-
I can maybe come, but I don't know when it is. Like,
Okay.
It'll be
it's-
one day. So I don't know.
yeah, I understand that. I mean, I can take time. I mean, I can
Bring your kids
take
and run
volunteer
down the
time.
hallway.
Oh god, that'd be more work than
Do you want anybody-
I bring
I'll
one of
bring
them.
mine too and they can entertain them.
Yeah, just let 'em run around the gym, right?
All right, and then I just have, thank yous. I only had makerspace people. Who else are we supposed to be thanking?
There's a whole list I wanna
Okay,
do.
Bob has a whole list.
Well, he's gonna check on the note cards, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Nope, that's not it. The note cards for thank yous
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
that's all.
makerspace,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Cause I'll, if you have them, I'll wanna come in and fill some out,
Okay.
and get those started, and I can pass them on to them out, around and about. What else you got?
Then I just have, we need to talk about the school board stuff, see if we're signing up for that, so that's just the other one I have.
Oh, the
Um,
convention.
Mm,
Yeah, you might wanna budget that in, Bob.
I'm gonna what?
We're all gonna try and go.
Okay.
Okay.
It's gonna be expensive.
yeah.
I'm gonna figure out a way to make it less
Maybe
expensive.
one of us can apply for a scholarship, how about that? I'll see what it's all about.
When are we gonna update on Rise?
Yes, so Jared and I and Bob talked to this woman, it's like a one, do you wanna talk about it, or you want me to talk about it?
What are we talking about?
The one room classroom thing,
The Rise.
the RISE
Oh,
grant?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the RISE grant, we talked to this woman about how it works, and basically, it's a set of cameras and a setup where you can, class can be taught on Spanish, a class can be taught, example is algebra, you can do enrichment. I had a Zoom actually gave me a whole breakdown of what we talked about.
She said it could be used for classes, but it could also be used for PD, it could also be used for telehealth, for, you know, whatever it's like.
And so if a school creates one, then everybody gets access to it, right? I believe, like if a school was willing to teach Spanish, everybody could learn Spanish. If a school put on a PD day and put it on there, then we could use it.
Through, yeah, I can't remember exactly how that went. There were courses that were available, some of them through the Illinois Virtual Schools Academy.
That's where we talked before about you could have like a night Spanish class for the community,
Yeah.
right? Say, pay us, you know,
It's
50
And
bucks
they're
for
gonna
this.
have
It's
to be
there, it's
done.
available.
It's next year.
We've
Right.
got lots of time.
So this goes back to last, it would have been January, February, we had
Mhm.
Courtney come in, give you guys an update on where things were at. And the
Well, that might be
direction at that point was to,
It was too quick. We didn't get
we
in
weren't
time.
interested in doing that, so.
One of the things that
this is the second
surprised
iteration of it.
one of the things that surprised me that I learned during that meeting was that there's the federal grant that supports this sort of thing, the money that you would be getting from a federal grant. And then there's this RISE company. They're a company. They're essentially selling you, right? They're sort of taking advantage of all this federal money so that they can sell these technology packages to schools. And so the federal grant offsets something like 80% of those costs. So like that was what I had to keep in mind, that what I was
Yeah.
watching here was was essentially a sales pitch. But one of the things that really caught my attention was how she said that oftentimes in these classes that are being taught, they have what she called a far end facilitator, which is essentially not a teacher. It's just like a para who's kind of babysitting the kids while they're interacting with a teacher online. And it sort of set up my spidey sense. It was the same spidey sense that went off that night, which is that, this is an amazing technology. It's wonderful. And I would never want to say no to the kind of money and support for getting this stuff in place. But I foresee situations down the road in which, for purposes of efficiency, we're perfectly willing to have a course taught, virtually without face-to-face. teacher. I know, right here sitting today, we're all gonna say we love and we support face-to-face teaching. But when the money's talking to you, years from now, and looks like a real attractive thing, I would want us to make sure that we went into this with eyes wide open on what all of the possible implications.
I think Matt mentioned, like, having stuff for the community night. One thing to keep in mind is somebody would have to be here in the building, a staff member, and you're gonna have to pay that person to do that. That's not a problem, but I don't know anybody, staff members, that's willing to sacrifice their evening to do that.
But we don't know what they'd be teaching either, so like the Spanish,
I'm not saying teaching something, like if
They
they're
just
doing
have to
some
be
kind of,
here.
I don't know what it is, but somebody would have to be here on site.
That's that far in.
But that's where we-
Right?
If we have 10 people sign up, figure out what the cost of that is and say, okay, well, we're going to $20 or whatever it is, right? We're going to split the cost with you. I don't know what these courses cost, but right, you could somehow, if people are going to come, like, yeah, we'll
Oh,
let
I
you use
think
it, but at the same time, you got to pitch in a little bit. Like,
We get them for like.
I wouldn't
3
expect it
years,
to be
didn't they
free.
say?
Like,
They'll help us with all of it for 3 years, I believe.
I'm talking about like a staff member here would have
Yeah,
to
we
be here
get that,
on
you want
site.
some,
but
yeah.
Like I said, getting people to coach nowadays is a difficult thing.
I'm a little worried about next year and who's gonna sign up for coaches. Do we have coaches lined up for what time? So that's a good technology for the price, but also a scary reminder.
all right, I'll write coaches down too. Alright, so I have thank yous, the July growth, the school board convention, the coaching, the RISE grant, and the drawdown.
Draw that. I gotta get my ticket from there, I didn't bring my ticket.
I will be there.
Do you have anything for future agenda
That's okay.
items?
I don't think it-
Anybody else? Is that it?
Just need a
Can I have a
motion
motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn, please?
I'll motion.
A second.
Roll call?
All right. Britick,
Yes.
Olson,
No problem.
Yes.
Gant, yes. Zimmer,
Yes.
Bernadoni,
Yes.
Konzak.
Yeah.
We are adjourned at 8:16.
I need your folders.
Did you guys everybody have a shirt?
And,
I like them a lot.
Jen and Jen need-
All right. Thanks everybody online. Sorry we didn't have video. I don't know what happened. If there's anybody left. There's 6 people. So
Okay.
thanks for watching, listening. We'll have the video working next time.
It's fine because you showed up
Like and
like,
subscribe.
you know what I mean, like maybe we didn't have enough.
How many?